Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry for the impromptu hiatus I took at the end of last week. I just couldn't make myself put myself together or make myself turn on the camera, but I'm back and I'm ready. So let's talk General Hospital for today, August 17th, 2026. So we start this episode at the gatehouse, and Chase is running by and he sees the door open, so he goes in only to find Willow. Now, mind you, Chase is dressed in nothing but shorts. And Willow is a person that his wife has a problem with. His wife feels like manipulates him, and she has expressed all of this stuff to her husband. So he is well aware of what his wife feels that Willow is up to. Yet and still, he decides to go into the gatehouse and not only say, "Oh, what's going on here? Why are you moving in?" But he goes in, he decides to help Yuri with unloading the moving truck. He decides to um help her unpack a little. She's looking for Amelia's stuffy, and he's looking through the boxes and he finds it for her. And yeah, because staying away from Willow is absolutely not an option that he is willing to consider, even if it is for the peace of mind of his wife, because Willow is what matters to Chase. And Brooklyn, you're stupid because you should have listened to Michael, listened to Tracy when they told you that this is an issue. But now she's in this house and now you're finding issue with it. But if your husband is so trustworthy, why do you find issue with it? You shouldn't take an issue with it, right? I'm just saying. In my logic, if your husband is so trustworthy where Willow is concerned, you shouldn't be concerned. But she's in the kitchen with Tracy, and at first she thinks that Tracy has called her to the kitchen to discuss, her keeping quiet about being on the road the night of Curtis and Jordan's accident. And she, because last week we know that um what happened last week? Last week we know that Curtis was sentenced. He was convicted and sentenced to 10 years. Um 10 years is a bit excessive, I have to say. That's like manslaughter time. But he's been a he's been convicted of felony man assault, and he is going to Pentonville for 10 years. And so, she's thinking that Tracy is thinking that her guilt is getting to her. So she's thinking that Tracy wants to talk to her about that. But Tracy's like, okay, Willow is moving into the boat to the gatehouse. And of course, Brooklyn is absolutely against that because she knows that her husband is susceptible to Willow. And instead of getting rid of the husband that's that susceptible to another woman, her solution is to keep him away from that other woman. But you can't keep him away because he's going to go where Willow is. And the fact that Willow is living on the estate now is going to be even more of an excuse for him to see her. She knows it. We all know it. So she goes out there and she takes Willow a plant. I don't even know where she get the plant from. Did she pull it out the yard? But she takes her a plant and she finds Chase there Meanwhile, Yuri comes to the house and he tells Tracy that, he finished helping Willow in. And she was like, well, keep an eye on Willow and any dealings that she has with Chase. Let me know if they're alone. He was like, they've been alone already because he helped us move things in and I left them there now. Tracy, you should have told Michael no because at the end of the day, Chase is stupid. But I don't even care because, like I said, if we got to do all of this to keep him and to make sure he doesn't cheat, then is he worth keeping? I'm just saying. That's just my logic and my thought process. Meanwhile, anyway, y'all, so we got Lucas and Joe. Lucas is at work and Joe comes to the hospital because he has to interview a witness. And so they're talking, and Lucas tells Joe that he leased an apartment. They are also talking about the trial and Curtis being found guilty and sentenced to the 10 years. Of all the times for me not like to get this whole I can't record if y'all were trying to offer me $1 million, I couldn't have turned on the camera to record last week after Curtis's verdict. Like, of all the things, because I wanted to talk about that. Like, I really wanted to talk about that, but I just didn't have it to give. And here we are. But anyway, so they were talking about that, and then he tells him that he um leased an apartment, and Joe was like, oh yeah, Lucy and I are seeing an apartment. As soon as he said that Lucy and him were seeing an apartment later on that day, I knew exactly what was about to happen and what happened at the end of the episode. So um that they're talking. Meanwhile, we have Serena and Lucy. They're at the Metro Court pool, and Lucy's all excited because Michael and Jacinda are broken up, and she's like, "You can use this, to help us." And Serena's like, "Look, I don't want to have any romance with Michael. I don't want to kind of go that route. I just want us to figure out a different route to getting what you want." And so then she gets a call from Joe. Joe's like, can we meet now? And she leaves to go show him the apartment. She goes to show Joe the apartment, and like I thought, when he said he was seeing an apartment, it's the same exact apartment that she has rented out to Lucas because it's a 2-bedroom apartment. They're roommates now. And I guess they didn't realize that it would be some type of roommate situation. But anyway, so then we have Michael and Joss, and Joss is asking Michael to vet the possible CEOs for JJE. And Michael, at first, is like, no, I understand why mom is doing this as a parent. And she was like, well, I just want you to vet them because I want to make sure that, appropriate person is placed at the head of JJE. So Michael agrees, but on one condition, she has to be nice to Willow, basically. And so meanwhile, Carly is at her house and she's having a conversation with Hudson, and she was like, you need to try harder to get Joss to stand down. Lucas comes in and he overhears her. Then he has a conversation with um his sister, telling her about interfering, and then he tells her that he got an apartment. And this is how we know that it's the same apartment that Lucy is showing Joe, because we see that they're opening the door into the apartment. We see the apartment number on the thing. Meanwhile, Joe Hudson goes and he talks to Jocelyn, and she tells him to give the list to Michael. And at first he tries to resist, but then she's like, I'm the CEO, you do what I say, basically. And so he gives the list to Michael, and so Michael is going to get back to Josh. But that was General Hospital for today. I'll see you tomorrow. Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, August 18th, 2026. So we started this episode. Sunny is at home and Anna comes over, and Sunny assumes that she is coming over as the commissioner, and she's like, "Oh no, I'm not here on business. This is a personal call." And she is, basically, talking to him about um they start talking about Emma and Gio, because they're, talking about um Emma and Gio dating, and he asked Anna if she has a problem with it, and she's like, no, she is perfectly fine with Emma and Gio, being together. And she's talking about how, since she was sick, she needs a place of her own where she can go for like some solitude. So she's like, I know you got some land. And he's like, yeah, I got 100 acres. And she was like, I was wondering if you wouldn't mind selling me some. And we all know that she's asking Sunny to sell her the land because she wants to use the land to take Britt to eliminate her, per Peter August. Anna has lost it. And so he's talking to Anna, and they're having this conversation. And the whole time that Sunny and Anna are having the conversation, he's kind of like sensing that Anna is crazy. Like nobody else is picking up on it. Not, I mean, well, Valentine did kind of pick up on it, but he is distracted by everything else that he has going on, so he's not really focused in on it. But Sunny, he's like, huh? So he tells Anna about how he's going legit now. He's going to be a coffee importer, and they keep talking or whatever. And while they're talking, he's like, so are you seeing the therapist since you've been back? Because Sunny's like, this lady she's kind of lost it. Like, and it's nothing specific that she said, but it's all in her eyes and it's all in her energy and her demeanor that something is not right with Anna. And if you know Anna, then you should be able to pick up on it. And so she's like, no. And he, you know, tells her, she said, so will you consider selling me the land? And he was like, yeah, I'll tell Diane that you're gonna contact her. And she was like, no, I want this just be strictly between me and you. I don't want nobody else to know about the land. Yeah, because she's gonna take Britt there to eliminate her. Like Anna is literally actively planning to do a murder. Like it's crazy. It's I don't even know what to say. She's losing it. And so he was like, "Oh, okay." And I'm gonna call the psychiatrist and get some recommendations for you. And she was like, "All right, I'll think about it." No, girl, you need to go. Meanwhile, Gina, Gio and Trina are at the Surf Lounge, and they're about to meet with Simon and go over some music because they're about to start recording soon. And Gio, they each had, assignments that they needed to work on as far as their songwriting and planning the songs that they are going to cover and record. And so, he's asking her about it, and she's like, okay, look, I ain't do my homework. My mine was focused on, my dad. And he's like, basically, he was going to cover for her. And then, we'll focus on the writing together or whatever. So they're talking. And while they're talking, he tells her, I invited Emma to come by. So she's going to come too. And she's like, okay, that's cool. So, they're talking and they're, trying to figure out, what's going on as far as what they're going to record. And Emma comes. And when Emma comes, she comes with Quinn. And so Quinn comes and she's like, Quinn, what are you doing here? And he was like, oh, yeah, I volunteer because he apparently 3 months ago started volunteering with Emma at the animal shelter. So he's like, yeah, I was volunteering, and she told me that she was coming here to meet you and Geo. So I said that I would tag along and bring her and get some takeout. And she's like, oh, well, you can sit with us while you wait for your takeout or whatever. And so he's she's talked, her and Geo are talking about, what they're doing in their career now. And he's like, since when did you, pivot from art to music? And she was like, well, I always like singing, but I was always too afraid. But with Geo, I feel like I can do anything or whatever. And he's like, oh, okay. And so then she tells them that they have a gig, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna have to come. Then he gets his food and he leaves. And so they're still there, and they're still talking or whatever. She's showing pictures. She's showing Emma and Geo pictures of Desmond, and Geo is showing her pictures of Phoebe. And they're talking about their siblings, and just vibing. But then we see her stalker show up again. I think is a little bit too obvious that Quinn is the stalker, and then we also know that it could be Simon as well. So we shall see. But whoever it is, I hope it's not Gwen, because I need the stalker to put the fear of Christ in Trina, because she treats her mother horribly, but her mama is the only one that's going to come through for her. But I digress. Anyway, then we have Lucas and Ava, and he's telling Ava that he's moving out, and Ava's a little bit sad, and she's like, you're still dealing with grief. I'm not sure if this is the right time, but he says that he can't keep putting his life on hold, so this is the perfect time for him to move in. He does not yet know that he and Joe have rented the same apartment, because while Joe has rented the apartment via Lucy, he Lucas has rented the apartment through another party. So they haven't connected. And it was a little bit of an issue when Lucy was trying to put through the electronic signature on the lease. And it's probably because Lucas already signed the lease. So yeah, they don't know yet that they are roommates, or not even roommates. They've rented the same apartment. So then we have Lucy and Joe. Like I said, he is asking her about, her saying that Willow, left the Quartermains the night of Jordan and Curtis's accident. He's asking her more questions, and she's like, well, it's not like they gonna be in any legal trouble anyway, so it doesn't even matter. And he's like, yeah, you kind of well versed in it. She was like, yeah, I know a lot of things about a lot of things. And so we need to jump on this apartment. And then, he signs the lease or whatever. Meanwhile, Joss and Hudson are still at the Quartermains, and she's trying to get him to leave, but he's like, he's not leaving. So while they're talking, BLQ and Chase come out with Phoebe, and then Jocelyn's like, oh yeah, this is the first time I've seen you since you've officially adopted. So of course he's inquiring. They go back to Jocelyn's apartment, and she tells the whole story about how Chase and Brooklyn found Phoebe's mom, and then she tells him about the dad who gave up his rights and did a closed adoption. She just chatting. Josh, you talk too much. You're an agent. You're supposed to keep things a little bit more close to the vest than what you're doing. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure that Hudson knows that Phoebe is his child. Anyway, so then we have Britt and Jason there at the ball field, and he finally tells Britt that he is going to stop work. He has stopped working for Sunny, and she's, questioning him about, are you going to be able to do that? Are you really going to be able to sit by on the sidelines if Sunny is in trouble and really needs you? And he was like, he owes it to Danny. And she's like, yeah, you're right. And she keeps asking him, and I'm like, okay, do you want him to change his mind? Because why are you pressing it? Let the man do what he said he gonna do, because that's what he gonna do. But yeah, that was the gist of General Hospital for today. And we'll be back tomorrow because it should be more of the same. We'll be back tomorrow to discuss whatever goes on then. Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, August 19th, 2026. So, with this episode, we start with Donna and Avery, and Donna is making invitations for the Corinthos family barbecue. And Sunny is asking her, who should we invite to the barbecue? And she says that they should invite Justine, the DA lady, because Donna is very observant. Maybe she'll join the WSB when she gets older. Y'all, I'm still mad at Jocelyn for yesterday for just chatting and spilling all Brooklyn and Chase's beans to Hudson, and she don't even notice. You are a WSB agent. Everything that you know should be kept close to your vest because you never know who people are. And she don't know who he is. And she is just chatting and telling all them people business. But anyway, so, while Sonny is talking to Donna, and he's like, yeah, she's busy and she might not, be able to come or whatever, he gets a knock at the door and it's Rick. And so Donna's like, hey, Uncle Rick. And she was like, what you doing? And she was like, oh, I'm making invitations and for the Corinthos family barbecue. And he was like, well, I hope I'm on the list. And she said, you are. And he was like, good, I can't wait or whatever. And she was like, see, he's a busy attorney and he can come. Donna don't play, yo. I don't know what Sonny gonna do because y'all think Christina keep him on his toes. Nah, Donna is gonna be something else. But anyway, so they put her outside on the patio so that they can talk because Don Rick wants to talk about something important to him. And what he wants to talk about is he is going to ask Elizabeth to marry him. And Sonny's like sus of him all of a sudden wanting to ask Elizabeth to marry him. And he's like, and it is sus because have we even heard them say that they love one another? Like, drop it in the comments if I've missed it or I'm forgetting, because that is possible. I've had a lot of other things going on the show that I was paying more pertinent attention to, so I could have missed it. But anyway, he's like, why you all of a sudden want to marry her? And he's like, in the past, she has been the one, but it's to the point of obsession. And he was like, that's not this time, but ain't it? But okay. And so Sonny was like, he said, I don't want anybody else to get her. And he was like, oh, so this is about somebody else. And he's like, no, no, there's nobody else in the picture. He thinks Dante is in the picture. Well, I mean, I ain't gonna say he thinks Dante is in the picture. It seems like Dante is in the picture because they get real chummy. It is what it is, like it or not. Because speaking of Dante and Liz, they were at the ball field and she had finished her game and he was about to play his game and she was like he was like, well, you gonna stay and watch my game? And she was like, no, I got something to do at home. And he was like, what you gotta do? And she was like, I gotta put together a bookcase that's been sitting in the box for a while. Rick, why you ain't handle that for your girlfriend is beyond me, but I digress. So he was like, well, after my game, I can come help you put it together. So he get a little roughed up at the game and he comes to her house to help her put it together. But, while he's putting it together, his knee kind of gets worse or it seems like it's getting worse. So she has him, you know, laying on her sofa to kind of get it checked out. And then at one point she's like, okay, take off your pants since you won't go to the hospital, take off your pants. And so he takes off his pants and he's laying in his shorts on her sofa. And Rick comes And he looks through the window and he sees Dante half dressed on the sofa, and he's like, "What the heck is going on here?" And Liz looking like, "Boy, what? Why are you doing all of that?" Like, but Liz, come on now, let's be for real. Okay, girl. But anyway, so then we have Simon, Emma, Gio, and Trina. They're meeting and they're talking about the songs that they're going to pick. They're going to pick for recording, and then they start talking about how they have the marketing plan, which is still to sell Gio and Trina as a couple. And so Emma gets up in arms and is like, "Whoa, wow, okay." And so Gio and um, Trina, they're resistant because look, we have our own significant others, and in order for us to sell that we're a couple, we would have to keep our relationships a secret, and it's a lot going on there. Meanwhile, Curtis is at Jordan's house and he has Desmond with him. I guess Portia was benevolent enough to allow him to take the baby to spend his last couple hours with him. I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. I had to say it. So he's there, and he's talking to Des, and he's telling him about how he's sorry that he got to leave him, and then Jordan's like, "How things?" And he's like, "I don't know if I can do this." And he gets a text message, and he asks Jordan to look at it, and it's Michael. So Michael comes, he goes and put the baby down, and he comes, and so Michael is going to hire an interim CEO for the time that Curtis is in prison, and then Curtis is going to assume the role of CEO again when he get out of prison. Wow. Okay, because who does that? But all right, go off, Michael. Be supportive of your friend. But anyway, so he's like, "Do you have a list of, who you may want to be in the role temporarily?" And so Curtis suggests Jordan. And so he asked Michael, because Des wakes up, so he asked Michael to kind of talk Jordan into it, and she says she'll do it as long as he's not trying to throw her a bone. And he was like, "No, you'll be good at it. She won't be good at anything because she doesn't do anything." Okay, I'm not even going down that rabbit hole today because I refuse. I'm going to have peace one way or another, and talking about Jordan does not give me peace, so we're going to move on from that. So anyway, so then Kai goes to Willow's and he is turning in his resignation. So she takes that as a time to go ahead and confront him about signing the affidavit, talking about some you spreading lies and rumors about me. And he was like, "No, I'm not spreading any lies or rumors. I know that you were there." And is she trying to say that, oh, he was breaking and entering? He was like, "I worked there." And she was like, "Not that night." And you don't really know what was going on that night or not, because you didn't even live there at the time. You were sleeping in Liz's guest room at the time. So come on, Willow. Like, really? So she's basically trying to push Kai around and threaten him, basically trying to get him, I guess, to rescind the affidavit or whatever. And she's like, "Why are you trying to act like it was just you there when I know it was Trina too?" Because Michael threw him under the bus. I don't know why he so freely told her who was who were the two witnesses that signed the affidavit, even though she already knew. But I don't know why he volunteered that information, because he had to know that she was going to try and intimidate them, because that's exactly what she's doing. She was like, "Y'all not going to be able to get away unscathed." And so Kai then leaves Willow's home, and he goes to tell Trina about the situation. So then we have Drew and Nina. They have words with each other because, he's still mad about her pushing him in the lake or whatever. But then he goes to meet with Ava. And so when he goes to meet with Ava, Brennan comes to meet with Nina, and she was like, "I need you to get some information on Michael because he got affidavits from Trina and Kai, and now he's using that to make her do what he wants." And he's telling her, "Look, you need to get out now while you can, because if you don't, your daughter's going to end up taking you down with her." She not listening, because Willow texts and she goes right back over there. to jump on board with being taken down again. At this point, I think Nina would go down more than Willow will. And then we have Ava and Drew trying to plot with buying up Sidwell's asset. Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, August 20th, 2026. So we pick up this episode where we left off yesterday with Rick showing up to Elizabeth's home and finding Dante without his pants on her sofa. And so she basically tells him, that she's giving him a check. She was very like trivial about it. What I will say about this situation is I don't think that either Liz or Dante are aware of the connection that they have with one another or that's building between them. I think is innocent on both their parts. However, Liz, that is supposed to be your man, right? Like, can you just like see it from like where he coming from? However, she did say that he has an issue where he is threatened by anyone. He's very insecure, and an insecure man is not necessarily a good man. So I don't know how far their relationship can go if he is insecure. And we know that he's insecure. He basically wants to propose to her because of his insecurities. He wants to propose to her so that no one else can get to her. But you can't keep somebody that doesn't want to be kept. And I'm not saying that Elizabeth doesn't want to be kept by Rick. However, if she ever doesn't, she has the ability to get up and walk away, and that is her right to do so. And I don't know if Rick understands that. So Rick, you know, feels away and he's leaving because she made it clear that Dante was her guest and he wasn't going anywhere, and he was leaving. And she did offer, you don't have to leave, you can stay too. And he was like, no, I interrupted something that I wasn't a part of, so I'm going to leave. Why didn't you put up your girlfriend's bookshelf? I'm just saying. And Liz, why didn't you ask your boyfriend to do it instead of taking it upon yourself to do it? And then thus inviting Dante to do it. You have a boyfriend. Now, I don't know if he can put things together, because then that's always a thing about men. Some men can do things, tasks like that, but some men can't. They don't know the business end of a screwdriver. So I don't know if that's the case with Rick, but did you ask him to put the bookshelf together? And then if she did ask him and he didn't do it, then Rick, can you really get mad that she got somebody else to do it? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking about it too much, but Liz Lee, I mean, no, Dante and Liz still continue to kick it. They're drinking wine, eating pizza. They kick it at the house like nothing just happened. And they're talking about Rick. And Dante was like, no, I want you to be able to, be open and tell me you've been listening to me about Raquel. So, you can talk to me about Rick. I don't think that's a good thing, but I digress. So, Rick, he calls Lulu and he's like, look, we're going to lose the loves of our life. And Lulu looking at him like he's crazy. And she's trying to give him sage advice, but I don't know if he's listening, because you calling Lulu is absolutely crazy, because Dante and Lulu, I just don't see them getting back together, because Dante don't even mess with Lulu like that no more, especially after the whole not telling him that his son was on the pier thing. Like, he don't mess with Lulu like that. But anyway, then we have Portia and Isaiah. They are at the cabin because Curtis is spending his last hours with Tutu. Oh, that's the inside nickname that y'all not privy to. But it's Tutu, like Desmond Tutu, excuse me. But he's spending his final hours with Desmond or whatever. And so they go out to the cabin. And apparently, Portia and Isaiah haven't really spoken much since the verdict came down. And so this was their first time spending time together, and they spend their time talking about Curtis. And Portia is worried about Curtis going away for 10 years and Desmond being without his father for 10 years. And so, he was like, well, I know what I can. And then she, makes the comment about, and when he does come home, I just hope that we can all just get along, whatever. And he was like, well, maybe I can help aid that by dropping the civil suit. And she was like, oh, Curtis got money. He's wealthy. You don't got to do that because he can afford to pay for the consequences of his actions. And he was like, no, I can do that. And she was like, that would be the greatest gift for me. Okay, Portia. Okay. I'm not, that's my girl. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay, Portia. Now, don't get me not delving into this as me not holding her accountable, because I do hold Portia accountable when she needs to be held accountable, and she definitely have some things that I need her to be held accountable for in this situation. But I digress. I don't have the mental capacity to go into that right now. So anyway, then she tells him that she had her 6 week checkup, and then they hit the sheets. Um, then we have Valley and Carly. We have Val and Carly. They're at the house, having their date night like they do. Valentine is cooking or whatever, and Lulu comes over because she has tracked Charlotte's phone, and she's going out to Egret Island on the speedboat with Danny, and she's like, "You gonna just let her go?" Valentine lets her run wild. Of course, he's just gonna let her go. I don't know why Carly felt like she needed to jump into this conversation and give her any kind of advice about taking care of her child. When the last time you seen your minor child? Because every time I see Donna, she with Sunny. But I digress. Anyway, so then they start jumping on Lulu, talking about some she need a man. I'm like, wow, that was very rude of y'all. And I like Carly, but dang, that was a lot. So then, she's like, you're right. I don't want your advice. And she leaves. And that's when she goes to meet with Rick. And then Carly tells Valentine that, Lulu might be onto something because she is trying to control Jocelyn's life. And she's going to have to step back and let Jocelyn make her own decisions. But then we have Britt and Jason, and they're at the boathouse, and Joss stumbles upon them, and Joss lays it out there how she sold her out to Cassius, and then Cassius kidnapped her and kept her under the Windermere for months. And she tells him all of this, and then she was like, and she's gonna sell you out just like she did me. And I can't say that Jocelyn is wrong, because Britt has a track record. If it's going to benefit Britt's going to do it. You can't really trust her because you don't know what she might do. Because, like I said, it's always going to be about Britt's benefit. And so he asked her, what was your side of things on it? And she was like, yeah, I did it basically. And I know that you may not be able to accept it because Jocelyn is like a daughter to you. And I felt that was kind of manipulative, but he was like, as long as there are no more lies, then, we're fine. And I'm like, Jason, you're stupid. But I digress. Go off. Have fun. Then we have Anna and Tristan, and he's talking to her. And I think Anna is now becoming a bit suspicious of Tristan, because I think she should be, because I still not buying the ex WSB of it all. And we saw the conversation that Tristan had between Brennan and himself. So I'm not so sure that he's ex WB and he's there for a reason. I just don't know what that reason is yet. But I definitely believe it is for a reason, and it's not all, oh, I'm former WSB. And then we have Curtis and Alexis. Curtis went to a meeting, and Alexis really gave him, good advice about going into prison and how to basically avoid the pitfalls that could face him, which would be drugs, because we know that Curtis is an addict. That's him being at the meeting and how easy it would be to fall into that going into prison. And, she's giving him tips on how to avoid those pitfalls so that he can make it back to his son in a timely fashion. So, yeah, that was a good episode today. It was pretty good. I enjoyed the conversation between Alexis and Baldy because I do want him to be a good father. But yeah, I'll see y'all tomorrow so we can wrap this week up. Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, August 21st, 2026. So we start this episode with Portia and Trina, and I am laughing because Portia is funny to me. Portia know how to get out of Dodge. She was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to be here for that. Get somebody else to do it." Portia said, I got to go meet somebody for breakfast. And Trina was like, but dad's coming and he's on his way to Pentonville. He coming. And she was like, yeah, I know. That's why I made plans. When I tell you, I love Portia, we have made up a middle name for her. Insert middle name, which is Renee Robinson. I love me some Portia Renee Robinson because she cracks me up. She never ceases to crack me up. And Trina was like, but she did, press, which is good because we know if Trina presses, then Portia might give in. And yeah, she didn't need to stay to see Curtis off. That's not her place anymore. She's strictly the mother of his children. That's it. So she leaves, and then we move to Curtis and Jordan, and they're saying their last goodbye. And when it's time for them to get ready to go, she's like, what time am I dropping you off at Pentonville? And Curtis looks at her like, you ain't taking me to Pentonville. And he said it was because if she takes him that he wouldn't be able to let go or whatever he says, but that wasn't the reason or the vibe that it gave because he paused and was like, don't you have something to do? And then he was like, well, how about I take you to Aurora and then I can go say bye to my kids and it'll be easier that way. Curtis thought Portia was going to be at home. I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there because the first thing he asked Trina when he walked in the house is, where is your mom? Why do you thought you was going to say bye to your girlfriend and then go to your family house and say bye to your ex-wife and your kids? Like, what was that all about, Curtis? I don't know. That was weird. It was very weird. But anyway, so yeah, he goes to Aurora, and he talks to Michael, and then him and Jordan have their goodbye, and she stays back to further converse with Michael, and he leaves and goes to see Trina and Desmond. And so when he gets to the house, of course, like I said, he asked Trina where her mom was, and she said, Mom decided to give us our space. And he's like, oh, yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, you better appreciate it. So him and Trina are talking, and she's like, me, I'm going to be here with Des, don't worry, or whatever. And Curtis tells her that, he wants her to still live her life because Des is not her responsibility and that her mom is perfectly capable of raising the child of raising Des. He has no concern about Portia being able to raise Desmond because Portia raised her and she did an amazing job. So he has complete 100% confidence in her being able to raise Des. And so Trina I'm sorry. My intrusive thoughts are getting the best of me. So Trina is shocked that he says this. I guess because they be beefing all the time. But, I was glad that he did talk positively about about Portia, because you ain't got no choice. Portia gonna be the one that's taking care of your baby, and whatever. So then, Trina brings Dez down, and Curtis is saying bye to Dez, and he's saying, I know your mom's going to send lots of pictures of you. And Trina's like, oh, don't worry, because me and Dez going to come see you all the time. And Curtis like, hey, I don't think that's a good place for either of y'all to come, because it could be traumatizing. And she's like, Dez is little, and she going to bring him anyway. I think if Trina want to go, she's an adult, she can. But I don't think they need to bring the baby, because it's not a place for babies. But I digress. Like, he can talk to Des on the phone. He can. I don't think. I don't know. But like I said, I don't think Curtis gonna be in prison that long for it to even really be an issue. But I digress. So then we have Laura talking to Rocco, and Laura is talking to Rocco about, him hanging out with Scout behind Drew's back, and she says she doesn't see a problem with it, but if he explicitly says that he can't, then he needs to stop. And then Lulu comes over, and Laura talks to her about, going to see Kevin and Ace. And she is telling her mom how good it is that she got a second chance at love. And she was like, well, you could have a second chance at love too. But yeah, okay. So then we have Danny and Scout. Scout has been sneaky, and she has gone to the Quartermains to swim in the lake, and so that she can hang out with Danny. But they kind of get into it because Danny doesn't want to do anything to upset Drew, but then he makes a disparaging comment about Drew, because we all should make disparaging comments about Drew. But and she's like, don't talk about my dad like that. And so then he ends up talking with Charlotte about, their plan to frame Drew. But then Rocco overhears. And so, he's like, you shouldn't do that. And so Charlotte covers, and she's like, oh yeah, we're not going to do that. But she's really going to do it. She just doesn't want to get into it with Rocco about it. And then we have Ava and Drew. He sees her at the Metro Court pool, and he's like, oh, can I have this seat? She's like, this seat is about to be taken. And he was like, well, I'll sit here and keep you company until your breakfast companion gets here. And she's like, I don't think you want to do that, because one of your enemies is coming. And he was like, who? And he's like, should I guess? And she was like, we'll be here all day because the list is so long. And she's like, oh, Portia is coming. And he was like, oh, I want to talk to her anyway. And she's like, hey, I'm protective over Portia and Trina. Like, I would choose them over you any day. Like, you can't, I don't want you staying upset in Portia. And he was like, no, I want to apologize to her or whatever. So here comes Portia. Portia and that slick mouth of hers. What an unpleasant surprise. And she looking at Ava like, girl, what is he doing here? Because this is basically the second time Ava has ambushed Portia. Because she did it one time with Nina. But now she's doing it with Drew, when Drew gives his apology. And Portia was like, I don't even know if you're sincere. She said, tell you what, I don't got time for this in my life right now. What we can do is, I'm not in a place where I can accept your apology, but what we can do is steer clear of one another. And he said he can do that. So we shall see what we shall see. And then we have Sonny. He goes to Pentonville to see Sidwell and tell Sidwell that he's going legit. Why he would tell Sidwell that he's going legit is crazy to me, but whatevs. He tells Sidwell that he's going legit, and Sidwell tells him that this whatever it is isn't over, and he was like, it looks pretty over to me. Y'all thought it was over, but I never. When they said that he took a plea, I was like, oh, Sidwell about to do something crazy. And we know that Sidwell got a new roommate today. We don't, well, yeah, I don't know. Well, TBD. Sidwell got a new roommate today. But speaking of Sidwell's new roommate, we don't know. It didn't show or air today, but we know that's coming. I read it somewhere that that's coming. But Curtis went and checked himself into Penville. And then Jordan, stupid, day one, and she effing up as CEO.